It's time for another Three Blind Mice Invitational. This time around, Lee, Paul, and George have invited us to participate in customizing the Hot Wheels Porsche 917 LH. That's it that you see there. I did not have a clue as to what I was going to do with this. And then I was looking at it, and I'm a child of the 60s. And I guess the hint I'll give you is da na 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 na. I hope some of you recognize that. I know it's a pitiful reproduction of some music from probably what was my favorite TV show way back then, around the same time I was playing with Hot Wheels. So you'll see where we go with this. Took it apart. You see the pieces there. I needed to change the wheels on it. I knew I didn't want those wheels that were on there. So I had these wheels that would fit reasonably well, fit the concept I had. I ended up taking the rubber off the outside of them so I could file down those little nubs on the back because I needed more room under the wheel wells. And so you see the pins over there at the right. I just made new axles with those pins. And here you see me filing down the little nubs. But it's the weirdest thing. When I was looking at this casting, I thought, well, what should I do with it? And then when I saw what I thought was in there, I knew the rear wing had to go. Or let's just say the cross section of the wing. The fins are going to stay. You'll see why. Got out the jeweler saw, cut that section off out of the middle. What was nice, an added benefit from cutting off that middle section, was this casting had some horrific casting lines on it. Probably the worst one of all was under that rear wing. So, well, hell, I'll just cut that wing out of there and I'll have complete access to that. Now, if you recognize the theme song I was humming, I didn't go completely, and that maybe you see it now. I didn't go completely that way, but I wanted to streamline the body even more. And there's this little trick I do with JB Weld. Like I'll put down the masking tape, and then I put JB Weld. I mix up some JB Weld, any excuse to use JB Weld. And when you lay it up against that tape and you let it set up, once it sets up, you can peel it off, and it gives you a beautifully flat metal epoxy panel, which personally I find this easier to do than trying to cut a piece of styrene to fit and shaping it and then using putty to fill in the gaps. Not to say that I don't end up using Bondo spot putty on this before it's all over, but this gives you a perfect fit, an exact fit that you don't have to do any real measuring or cutting or any of that crazy stuff. So there you see it. I mean, there's after that's set up, and it has smoothed out the back. Now, I really think this 917, with its long, swooping lines on that body, it's just sexy as hell. So this is going to have a jet turbine engine. And so I have these little, I don't even know how you pronounce it, ferrules. They're just these little tiny pieces of tubing that have a flared out end. And you use them, I think they put them at the end of leather straps, and they use them just for ends of rope and string, that kind of thing. They're just a metal cap piece for the end. So I filed a notch in the plastic base, and I filed a notch in the metal body on the top. because of how I wanted this to sit in there. And so I'll give you an idea here in a second. You can see there's the hole I'm after. And the ferrule, the tube is going to go in there. There's a lot of file. Like I said, this thing has a lot of casting lines. So I end up cleaning those up. Here's where I'm test fitting that little ferrule thing into the body. I really wish I knew how it was pronounced. You can see the little round. I just used a rat tail file to get that roundness that I wanted there. Unfortunately, you can see the post is in my way. The posts are always in the way. So, and I'll admit to you now on this one, I ended up having a problem with the front post. This has two posts, and it's the first time I've ever had a screw strip out on me, but the one on the front post stripped out. So I ended up using a CA glue when I put that part of it together. But there you see how that's going to go. I decided that I wanted to tack it onto the body with CA glue just to get the placement exactly where I wanted it. And so, I mean, truly just barely anything. Just enough to tack it. And I find that best on a lot of these, just to use a little CA glue in a lot of situations to tack something. And then I whip out the JB Weld and do it right. There you see I like the fit. It's where I want it to be. It's sticking out just enough. Getting it set perfectly. Yeah, it's a fiddly little thing. You got a little better look at that underside of the JB Weld there too on the earlier portion. And here we go again. Now that CA glue is set and I have that little tube exactly where I want it, I just did a small little batch of JB Weld just to put around that tube and also to seal up the opening in the back here. So there you see me sealing up the back end because I don't know, I just didn't want you to be able to look in the back of the car from the back. So got that just kind of situated and coat it with some JB Weld, and that thing isn't going to go anywhere when that sets up. So I took a lot of care not to put a lot of excess JB Weld in there, and part of that is because of the inside pieces. I wanted to keep those as best as possible. After filing and cleaning this casting up, I hit it with Bondo spot putty, and there it is after I've sanded it down again. And then I ended up hitting it with Rust-Oleum flat black because that's the only black I had at the time. You remember that theme music I was doing before at the start of the video? Well, now I needed to put some red lines, some red accents on here. And I went back to, in an earlier video, I used bare metal foil for masking. And I did that again here. It's kind of tough to see the bare metal foil because the lighting, I'm sorry it's so bad. But all I did was cut a couple thin strips of bare metal foil, stick it down, go over it with a Q-tip, really press it down well. And then, I'm not airbrushing this. I'm sure as hell not going to hit it with rattle can spray paint to get these fine lines. So this is actually a Molotow, from the same people who bring you the chrome pins, a Molotow red paint pen. Works great. Love their pins. There you can see a little bit better the reflection off that tape. So I painted some stripes on there the way I wanted it. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, oops. Yeah, there we go. This was kind of awkward to get in the gauzy. Gauzy. I did not go, and I'll say it right now, full-on Batmobile. Because one of the things I always thought was kind of stupid on the original Batmobile was the bats on there. I mean, dear God, it's not an advertisement. It's the Batmobile. Everybody knows it's the Batmobile. You do not need to stick a bat on the Batmobile. And when you think about it, recent Batmobiles have not had the bat on there or any designation that it's the Batmobile. And I kind of appreciate that. I did not go the cherry on top, the light, or the tubes, the mortar tubes, for lack of a better term, that they had on top. Just a quick note, I did have to file down part of that inside, and because remember I put the JB Weld, part of that interior popped up into that notch on the original casting. Then I remembered something Christian told me. Christian Stanoland says, use emery boards. They cut right through stuff. He's right. Yeah, the man knows his stuff. So there you can see what I ended up doing with the tires and the axles. I ended up putting a little fitting on the end and CA gluing that into place. So, but I didn't go full on Batmobile because I always thought some of the things on the original Batmobile were kind of stupid. The mortar tubes on the back, I mean, dear God. And you look at this 917. Like I said before, man, the lines on this thing are sexy as hell. And when I filled in that back with JB Weld, it just is even longer and sleeker and swooping back there. So, I went kind of basic on this. You know what it is if you saw it going down the road. So, I put these axles in since I had bent out the little plastic things to get the axles out originally. And these truly with a little fitting just drop right back in. It rolls like a beast. So I just CA glue in the center a little baking soda, baking powder on there to make it a little stronger. Now it's time to throw this thing together. There you see the base with the wheels. I did hit that with flat black as well. And the body with flat black, like I mentioned earlier, the Rust-Oleum. And then I went over it with the Minwax clear gloss polyurethane. I almost left it flat black. I came really close because I thought it looked fantastic. And then I kept having flashbacks to the 60s Batmobile. And I thought, that thing looked great gloss. I'm going to hit this with gloss, and I may kick myself later, but I'm going to do it. And I'm really happy that I did. I couldn't be happier with the results. So I'll show you where we end up here in a second. I'll show you a flashback of where we started as well. But I'd like to take a moment here, again, to thank the Three Blind Mice for having these events and suggesting the vehicles that we do, because I probably never would have done this one. And like I said, I had no idea what I was going to do, and then it suddenly came to me. But it's a challenge when they throw these out there to us, for all of us to come up with something original of our own. and it gives us fantastic exposure as builders because, they have a fantastic base of followers. Rightfully so. They have earned a fantastic following. They are 3 fantastic builders. And if you haven't seen their videos, dear Lord, check the links down below in this video and check their stuff out. Check all of their older videos too. You will be amazed. And check out the other builders that are doing this too. You'll see there's a lot of fantastic builders out there. Check them all out. So there you see it. It's hopefully you see in it what I see in it. I think that's sexy as hell. Look at those body lines. Look at the swoop of that back of that thing. I mean, if you were a criminal and you saw that coming up behind you, you better run. You better punch that accelerator. So here's some glamour shots. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, thanks for putting up with me through all of these. Thanks again to the 3 Blind Mice and to all the other builders that participate in these. Everybody, take care and stay safe out there. Catch you in the next one.